I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, guys, your Fatman Prepper up into his house. I got Ron, the Green Wizard, special guest, special live. Was not planning on going through. I want to thank you guys for showing up, even if it's only 5 or 6 of you. Anytime I find a person that has a brain to pick, I'm going to pick it.
Oh, well, shit, we're done.
Without further ado, y'all, I'm gonna give it up to the mic to Ron. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. I'm gonna let him tell you all about him and what he's doing, what he's done, everything that you want to know about him. This is a chance for you to ask him directly. I'm just gonna sit back here on the sideline, and I'm gonna give it up to Ron right now. So the Green Wizard, it's all yours.
Hey, everybody. Hope you're all doing good tonight. I'm Ron Neitzel, the author of The Green Wizard's Guide, your guide to a better yard and a better garden. Now, I know The Green Wizard's Guide is not your normal book, because I'm not your normal person. I'm just like you guys. I went out and I followed the NPK process, and I didn't stop to think about what my father had done and what my grandfather had done in their gardens and in their huge farms. And I got this house a bunch of years ago, 20 some years ago. And it was horrendous, 85 years, 90 years old now. And everybody had been throwing the NPK process at it. You know, they started preaching this system back in the 50s because the gunpowder manufacturers needed someplace to dump their chemicals. Well, guess who they dumped them on? The American public. And of course, we sucked it all up. Anyhow, I followed the same system. I ran to the grocery store, I ran to the hardware store, and I bought up every chemical that they possibly had. And I had greatest weeds in the city. I was weed king. And then I tried growing pumpkins one day. And they failed miserably. And I followed everything you could think of. And I tried everything you could think of. Except for one plant that I couldn't reach. One plant that I couldn't get my hands on. And that thing thrived when the rest died. And that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. What my father had done, what my grandfather had done. Heck, maybe Merlin himself smacked me in the back of the head. I don't know what it was. And that's when I started applying Mother Nature back into the soils and back into the world. And wouldn't you know it, Mother Nature's system worked better than anything and any chemical and anything I had tried. And I have spent years perfecting it. And I'm constantly working on garlic. I love garlic. And I get grapefruit size, softball size garlics just about every single year. And I still haven't perfected it, in my opinion, because there's so many things to learn and so many things to know. But one of the things I did along the way was tomatoes. Now, my next door neighbor got me into this, and he gave me 10 tomato plants. And I got a couple of tomatoes per plant, and that's what he was getting. I thought I was doing pretty good. Then I applied Mother Nature. And all of a sudden, I didn't need 10 plants anymore. I needed 3. And I'm getting 19-foot long tomato vines, 600 pounds worth of tomato per vine. You can feed a family on that. Mother Nature's system works. Well, my neighbors had asked me enough, and they had labeled me the Green Wizard because anything I plant takes off like fire, wildfire, if I can put it in those terms. And I decided, you know, enough's enough. I'm tired of answering questions. I need to get back to being in the dirt and playing in the soil. So I sat down and started writing a book. And it took me 5 years. The first book would have killed you, 500 pages. And it was terrible. Oh, my God, it was a textbook from hell. Then I wrote The Green Wizard's Guide. And I condensed all of that information and all of the fun and all of the tricks and all of the things my neighbors called me into this book. All of the stories are there. All of my mistakes are there. So you don't make those mistakes. All 114 pages packed full of information of you laughing at me because I screwed it up so you don't have to. And the solutions with all the backing support from colleges around the world, support on everything I'm telling you to do in your yard and in your garden. Now you got to understand, you got to treat your garden and your yard at the same time, the same way. Because as we stop turning the soils and stop rototilling our gardens, we still need to get supplements into the soils and in there for the garden, because every plant is going to continue to take the same minerals out of the soil every single year. That's fine. We need to get them back into the soil without harming the soil, because every time you expose soil to sunlight, you're killing millions of microbial life forms.
The murderers, how dare they?
So what you start doing is you start feeding your yard instead of your garden. Your yard is going to produce, your garden is going to overproduce because there's an abundance of everything you need. All of it's in the Green Wizard's Guide. I'm sure Fatman can bring up the Amazon link for you real quick.
I will.
Everything that you could possibly want to know about your yard and about your garden is buried in this book in one way, shape, form, or another in 114 pages. And you're going to be laughing when you read it, because I screwed up a lot. I'm really good at it. And it cost me a lot of money. So why should you spend the money when you can spend $15 and get your hands on my mistakes and get the right solutions? Every single one of them. Now, yes, I am working on a specific gardening book that's going to cover, oh my God, everything you can possibly imagine. I'm just not there yet. I'm still reeling from the writing of the Green Wizard's Guide. And of course, I stopped a couple of years thinking that I was going to get somewhere on YouTube. Well, you know how YouTube works, everybody. Well, that didn't work real well. Whatever. I'm getting out on radio. I've been all over Texas radio. I've been all over Florida radio. I've been all over New York radio.
Ron,
I'm everywhere.
Ron, let me ask you, what stations specifically on Texas radio and Florida radio that you're on, so that there are people that
they're AM radio stations
on the rebound. So
what is I want to say it's 1100 AM for the Ann Beal show. The Delusion Solution is the Florida. I thought that was like 980 or something. But all of these are also available on the internet. You can get rebroadcast. I always rebroadcast them on my channel, so you can go right in and listen to the interviews.
And I will list that channel here shortly, guys, once I get it pulled up. I just want to let people know, especially those that watch this on the rebound, because I do have a lot of people that will watch this on the rebound, what channels that you are live on that you're speaking of, so that they can actually tune in to those channels, not only to those channels, but also your YouTube page itself.
Well, yeah, because I do other things on YouTube. You know, I barbecue. I'm a little bit of a cook. I feed a lot of people, and nobody ever walks away hungry, and everybody loves what I do. So you might see that every once in a while. I put tidbits out there of information. And Albany, thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it.
It's not only putting out information, but I think you put it out in the positive way. I always say the best way to learn something is through humor, because through humor, you're going to learn a whole lot more than if I were to come up here and just spit out facts to you. If I spit out facts, yeah, you might retain one or two facts, but you're not going to learn everything that I'm trying to get across to you. And what it sounds like from everybody, your book, you're dropping jokes left and right.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, did you know if you grow enough garlic, it'll keep the werewolves off your property?
I'm more worried about the vampires.
Well, hey, you know, you got garlic. Everybody goes, wait a minute, that ain't right. Well, no, of course it's not right, but it drives the fleas off.
No,
garlic has this really unique property that it does something in the soil, and it produces an oil throughout the soil, a good 30 feet around the garlic plant, that naturally drives off fleas and ticks. So if you've got pets in your home, plant this stuff around your house. Plant this stuff wild around your yard. It'll come back every single year. It's a bulb. Every single year, you're going to have fresh garlic growing. But it's a natural deterrent to fleas and ticks. You're never going to have them in your yard.
Now, you mentioned garlic, and I want to touch on that real quick. Now, there's been a lot going around on YouTube about elephant garlic, which is not a natural garlic, but it's listed as being a garlic because it tastes like garlic. What are your thoughts about that?
It's an onion. Elephant garlic is an onion. It comes from the same family. When it's tested on that lower level, it is an onion, but it tastes like garlic.
Okay. What else can you tell us about it?
It is the most mild form of garlic you can have. It is one of the best cooking garlics you can have. As far as barbecuing, it's too big to put inside a meat. So unless you're gonna crush this thing down, but you want to talk about an instant weight loss program, hey, a clove of garlic. Well, an elephant garlic would be too big for that, but a spoonful. Okay, so you grind up some garlic and you put it in a little bit of water. But you take a spoonful of that garlic, just a teaspoon, and honey of all things, and you ingest that about a half hour before you go to bed, and get that down in your stomach. It keeps your metabolism up. It keeps you from waking up, and you naturally burn off weight overnight.
You know, I always said that with garlic, if you eat enough of it, you sleep very well. You sleep alone, but you sleep very well.
Right. It is a sleep aid. It will help in your sleep. But the problem with straight up garlic plant is that you're secreting the constant smell. Is that you don't have that with elephant garlic. That naturally goes away because it's not actually garlic, it's an onion.
Well, see, one of the reasons why I'm interested in elephant garlic is because of the price that it does command. Now, a lot of you, everybody that subscribed to my channel, you already know my plan is to move to Alaska and develop my property, the untouched property I have in Alaska, within the next 3 to 4 years. Now, one of the crops that I was thinking about growing to take to the farmers markets out there in Alaska is elephant garlic. Again, due to the price that it commands. I have to look at, yes, I will have my regular job with the state of Arizona, but I still need to make money, to develop that land. That land doesn't develop itself by free, with no money involved. So I got to look at plants that I can grow out there, and elephant garlic was one of those that popped up. So I'm very ignorant about elephant garlic.
And what's interesting, as I did the research on the garlic and got into elephant garlic myself, did you know that the soil conditions are what dictate the price on the different garlics? Your conditions at your home are different than the conditions at my home. My next door neighbor's soil conditions are different than mine. I can command a different price for the same garlic that he grows next door. Mine is coming out a whole lot more mineral rich and a whole lot more flavorful.
Not only that, but as we mentioned in Gil's live just a few moments ago, your soil is different 5 feet away from what you're growing as it is, unless you do what Ron suggests, and he points out in his book, is treating the whole lawn.
Everything.
And yes, the Daily Prepper, I am located in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm actually located in South Central Phoenix. But one of the biggest things that I love is humor. Humor. The best way to learn something is humor, people. And I'm so tired of all this fear porn that's going on YouTube right now about World War III, Ukraine. Fuck that. It's not going to happen. And yes, I'm going to use foul language, and I do accept foul language. It's 9 o'clock it's 20 minutes till 10 p.m. here in Phoenix. So that means the rest of the world, y'all about midnight and a little later. So it's all good. If you're a kid, this is not meant for you. Adults, parents, please put your kids away, because we're going to get real right now. Okay. I am very real about knowledge. And this man right here has the knowledge. So drop us the knowledge. Any questions, I will definitely put up on screen and we will address them. Right now, Gil, thank you for dropping the link for
That's
Green
from
Wizard,
one of
and
the
that's on
radio
the
interviews I
Anfield
did.
Show. That goobage. I'm reading Caitlin's. I'm trying to understand Caitlin's comment here. I do. You know what? Here's the way I feel, people. Being politically correct in today's day and age is a waste of time, because you lose a lot in the translation. And I think Wizard is frozen, so he may pop back in. So you're going to have to deal with me until he does pop back in. Now, I'm not perfect. I've gone to school for horticulture. I've learned a lot in horticulture, and I'm learning more and more every day. Every day you're going to learn something. Thank you, Gil, for that link, so you guys can check out the Green Wizard. I'm sure the Green Wizard is going to pop back in. Issues with internet, you gotta love it. Kaylin, I'm sure it was deliberate. I love every one of you guys that show up here for the lives. Let's see. I have lots of gophers. They love my garden. They think I think they're eating all the worms, but they dig up everything. I have to get rid of them. I live next to an agricultural field. Suggestions. I'm going to wait until Wizard pops back in. I'm hoping he pops back in. But I will address this question. Why am I going to Alaska? Why? It's simple. I need challenge in my life. I have to be challenged every day. With what I'm doing right now, I'm not challenged. I really am not challenged, people. So what's the best way to challenge myself? And I thought about that. Well, I could challenge myself at being better in my job. My job is my job. It's not my life. It's not who I am. And we have the Green Wizard coming back in. He will be, there he is. Sorry that you dropped out. Yeah. Daily Prepper, I'm going to get back to your question in just a moment, but I'm going to pull up Idaho Garden Girls question for Ron. Ron, Idaho Garden Girls asking, I have lots of gophers. They love my garden. They think I think they're eating all the worms, but they dig up everything. Yeah, gophers really do dig up and cause havoc on a lot of shit. I have to get rid of them. I live next to an agricultural field. Any suggestions?
Yeah, chicken wire. Chicken wire. Bury it down in the garden. actually go into the base of the garden and put
Go
that
to
chicken
several
wire.
feet.
They run into it in the dirt. There aren't a whole lot of chemicals that'll drive them off. There's not a whole lot of ways. Now, there's a theory that if you get a thumper, a solar powered thumper, and you place those around your garden, that most of those rodents that come in will think that there's a much larger animal around, and it will drive them off. Now, I've seen it work on a lot of different things. I've seen it drive off groundhogs here in Ohio. You might try one of those before you go digging up your entire garden to put chicken wire down. It's called a solar thumper. You can get it on Amazon.
See, I'm not a big believer in chemicals and things like that. The more chemicals you drop, the more you're going to have to deal with that at a later time.
Yep.
So I'm not a chemical person. Now, as we were discussing in Gil's live, I will use chemicals to a point. And usually those are life-saving techniques that I've developed, like Miracle Grow. I will use it from time to time, but as I pointed out in Gil's live, it's generally to save the plant, and so that it buys me just a little bit of time. But I do like the idea of using something like a solar thumper.
Yeah, solar thumpers. You can use. You were saying use barbed wire to keep some of the rodents out.
Well, I was
actually
thinking that she was talking about larger, much larger, things.
Solar powered electric wire fence, and string that around. That's not going to work for a gopher. They always dig. Gophers are after the worms. Yes, they're after that smell. They're after that. And as you follow the Green Wizard Guide, you're going to end up with more worms than you've ever seen in your life. You're not going to be able to dig anywhere in your garden without running into worms, because it is so abundant with microbial life that the worms are there having a field day. And that's where the aeration comes in. A lot of gardeners today will go out and they will use a rototiller and they'll crank that thing up and they'll spin that garden over and they'll do what have you for aeration purposes. What they don't understand is every time you disturb that soil, you're killing microbial life by exposing it to sunlight. Stop doing it. You don't need to. Yeah,
and we already know that microbial life, guys, the plants feed off of the waste from those microbes break down the solids so that the plants can absorb the solids. So right. You can't be killing what the plants are needing. Now, let's see. Where is that question? Now, this is a problem I have here in Arizona. And being a renter, there's very little that I can do. And if I can find the damn question, it went so fast. Okay, here we go. Albany Mountain Homestead's asking Ron's advice on fire ants. Those things are a menace. My first encounter with a fire ant colony, I was in another apartment in northern Arizona, in northern Phoenix. And I went outside and I sat down on a power transformer, the green boxes that they have on the ground. I was just sitting there relaxing, and suddenly my feet start burning. I look down and there is, I swear to God, there's like 1,000 fire ants just attacking my foot. So I'm kind of curious, Ron, what part of the country are you in?
I'm up in Cleveland, Ohio.
Do you deal with fire ants that much? No. I don't think you guys do.
No, they're a water base.
Okay, that's why I kind of figured.
They're searching for sources of water. If you have excess water standing anywhere, you're going to have the fire ants in your area. Again, that's where you go back to the Epsom salt. If you've got standing water, throw in Epsom salt. It's going to soften the soil. It's going to start allowing the water to start saturating into the clay once again. and you're not going to be providing the fire ants with the water anymore. If you've got fire ant hills, dry ice. Put dry ice over top of the
Normally,
hole.
what I would do is I would actually use molten aluminum because it makes a nice little decorative piece for the house. That's just me personally, but I also learned that diatomaceous earth, or DM earth, it works wonders for a lot of critters that are exoskeletons.
Well, yeah, but understand, those things also stop worms.
Well,
diatomaceous earth is not a good thing to have in your garden because it will kill all the worms.
Yes. But again, I'm talking strictly from an apartment base.
Okay.
So I couldn't grow outside the apartment, forbid it. So the only thing I could do was what I could do. And I don't like chemicals, so I had to resort to diatomaceous earth. But from your standpoint, what would you do if, for say, that the fire ants were to come up into that area and start colonizing and taking over?
I would be looking for their source of water. And I would be dealing with that water to get it to absorb back into the clay again the way it's supposed to. What people don't understand, and the research has been done, the study's been done, the information's in the guide, I did back it up. Clay is a natural formation that we caused. The industrialization of our country caused the excess clay. Clay is nothing more than compressed soil. Soil is dead topsoil. What we're talking about doing is bringing all of that stuff back to life this year by using the guide. All clay is just compressed topsoil over the years. We can bring it all back. It is mineral rich. We can bring it all back. Epsom salt is the answer. There's something about Epsom salt. And it's not salt. Don't misunderstand. There's something about the Epsom salt. Just like when you soak your feet in it and you get rid of calluses, that changes clay back into soils. And the addition of microbial life and the addition of living organic material in that soil will turn it back into topsoil. They've gone out and tested. I don't remember the exact university, but it's in the book. They went out to an abandoned farm that had been abandoned for 60 years, and they slid glass down into the soil until it stopped, until it reached bedrock, 19 feet deep. And guess what they found down there? 19 feet deep. Roots. Living, growing roots. 19 feet deep in the soil. That's the way it's supposed to be, everybody. You see all these trees falling over every time there's a storm and there's no bottom on it. It's flat. It's not round anymore. We're causing that. The industrialization is causing that. All of the chemical use is causing that. Cars, trucks, boats, planes, all of it is causing that. The use of the NPK system is accelerating that. And we can reverse that.
I see a lot of that.
First year out of the box with this book, you can reverse that by washing your yard. Believe it or not, you can go out and play with your kids in a bunch of bubbles and fix your yard and make it chemical free.
See,
this summer.
I see a lot of, especially during the windstorms that we get, the Habibs and everything here in Arizona. I see overturned trees like crazy. And I know what it is. And I kind of laugh when I see all these landscaping companies just planting trees and planting plants and coming and spraying and all that. I'm like, you guys are not treating the root cause of issues. Right. You're giving the plants some nutrients, with your sprays, but those nutrients are not even seeping down into that ground to provide the proper root base.
No, now they're injecting. Now they have this backpack system and they inject from the NPK system 12 minerals. That's it. 12 minerals in the NPK, the nitrogen, potassium, and the phosphorus. That's it. And it's wrong. We need 90. We need 90 in our diet. And they're not putting it in there.
I'm just posting what Gil had to say. Some natural methods to employ the rid of fire ants naturally include the use of boiling water, dish soap. Dish soap, I love. I love, but I hate at the same time. I use a naturally decomposing type dish soap myself. That's the kind of lifestyle I'm moving towards. It needs to be natural, but it's very beautiful in gardening as well to relieve your plants from aphid infestation. And I know Don has dealt with that quite a bit. Every gardener, everyone that has plants has dealt with aphids.
Nope.
No? See, there you go, guys. There's another reason to check out his book. If he's not dealing with aphids, I praise the man because I deal with them.
That's because your plants are sick.
Not going to deal with scorpions as much. I kind of like scorpions myself because I know what they eat. They eat other insects. I'm more than happy to have scorpions around. I do not look at them as pests, but as welcomed visitors. Let's see.
Okay, grazing.
Albany's saying that everything she's tried usually forces them just to relocate. Well, yes, that's what they will do. They will relocate. And I'm assuming we're talking about fire ants still, Albany. I live on the side of a mountain full of clay and rocks. They move into my garden beds where I'm adding soil.
Right,
so
because it's a softer dig and there's plenty of water.
That's what I was getting at. So that salt issue, the salt that you're talking about, the Epsom salt, which is completely different than iodine salt or table salt that you're used to getting at the store.
That is
Please
correct.
make sure that you purchase salt. Epsom salt
from Epsom, England.
But I'm sure that's what's going to play the big difference in her issue. And like you said over at Gil, it's kind of like baking. It's a pinch will do you. So a handful just kind of throw out the handful.
That's it.
You don't need to go overboard on it.
Nope.
You don't need an inch or a half inch or a quarter inch. Just a handful does you.
Yep. Once a week, every other week, when you cut the grass, throw it out there. You see water puddles forming in your yard or what have you during the rain, go out there and throw some Epsom salt in it the next day. It's going to slowly declay your entire yard. And your garden is only as healthy as your yard is because of the microbial life that is looking for minerals. So if your yard's healthy, your garden's healthy. If your yard's not healthy, your garden won't be, because you're following the same basic principles in the two. Now, for decontamination of soils, guys, you're going to love this one. Plant sunflowers. It will pull more chemical toxins from gunpowder to heavy metals directly out of any soil.
So here, you mentioned that over at Gil's Live, and I wanted to ask you about that. Now, I love sunflowers. I love sunflower seeds. I love their. Now, you're saying that they're pulling out all this, all the toxicity,
but it doesn't put it in its seeds.
So it's breaking it down to its more
mineral-based forms. It is making it safe. I don't compost them. Okay. But I will eat the seeds, but I don't compost the plant. I throw the plant out just in case there may be a high concentration of this, that, or the other. There's no point. Why take the risk?
And a lot of people don't understand with sunflowers, you don't have to just harvest the seeds. You can harvest the entire head. You can cook the entire head and eat it without roasting the seeds and all that. You can actually eat the whole head of sunflower, and it's very nutritious for you. And Idaho Garden, her native soil is clay over the top layer of callus. I'm gonna butcher this.
It'll break down. It'll break down as the mineral. I'm sorry. As the microbial life goes active and becomes more and more active and more abundant, it's going to start pulling minerals out of all of that and feeding your garden everything it needs. You just need to deal with the clay. And all you got to do is throw down some salt on top of the garden bed. It doesn't matter. It's going to soak in. It's going to do its job. Now, as far as the aphid problem and as far as all the other bugs that invade your gardens, look, Mother Nature has put all of these bugs out there for a reason. They're there to eliminate sick plants, diseased plants. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean that the plant's not sick. On the NPK process, 90% of our plants are sick. People misunderstand that, and they scream and cry and complain, oh my God, I've got this problem. Right, I'm sure you do, because you don't follow the system. You don't follow Mother Nature. When your plants are healthy, they produce an all-natural pesticide that drives those bugs away. They protect themselves from all invasive bugs. All of them.
I'm used to a greenhouse environment in which that's what I ran when I was
massively controlled. But these people are talking gardens.
For me, aphids are an issue I've dealt with, and the best way I've dealt with them is just plain soap water, a soapy water solution, not a sudsy. You know, you don't want the real suds. You just want soap, a little bit of soap, a little bit of water, and you spray underneath the leaves. Don't spray on top, because that's not where the aphids are. You want to get underneath the leaves.
Neem oil will do the same thing.
What's that?
Neem oil.
Neem oil?
Yeah.
Okay, so there you guys go. There's another option right there. It's probably one that I would look into if I was running a greenhouse more often. But like I said, for me, it's been 20 plus years since I've ran a greenhouse. So a lot of things that I'm used to have changed, and I'm still learning all the time. Let's see.
Hey, Lynn, there are many different types of sunflowers. I know, and I have seeds for sunflowers that will grow over 20 feet tall. I also have seeds for sunflowers that will only grow 4 feet tall. Sunflowers come in many forms and many breeds. There is a short form of the sunflower. You can grow it on a deck.
There we go. That answers that question. Now, I didn't even see that until you started mentioning it. Let's see. Look into, if you have shaded property, look into plants that love shade. There are so many good, loving, nutritional plants that love shade. They don't like direct sunlight. Strawberries are one that,
yes, Caitlin,
from what I understand, love shade. That's why they're called strawberries. They used to grow.
Strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, all will grow in shade.
I mean, and that's a very nutritious berry to have around. Kind of looking through here. Yes, Kaylin, neem oil. Gil coming in with a comment. Epsom salt is also known as magnesium sulfate. It's a natural chemical compound made of magnesium, sulfur, and oxygen.
Right, and it exists in a natural form in a place called Epsom, England. That's where it's harvested. That's what we're buying.
Anytime I use chemicals, I try to go as natural as possible. Well, anytime I buy anything, I want more natural. Now, I'm a prepper, and unfortunately, some of the things that I do buy, they are loaded with all these additional chemicals for preservatives.
Right.
But, I got to take the good with the bad.
I understand that.
In gardening, though, you really want to stick with a more natural. Listen to Mother Nature. It may take you a year to understand what Mother Nature is telling you, but that's okay. Because as a gardener, you're not there gardening. And that's one thing I tell people. You're not there. You're not a gardener. You're only there to assist Mother Nature, to listen to her. She's going to tell you what you need to have. And if you're smart enough, you're going to realize what she needs, and you're going to give it to her in the most natural possible way possible.
Daily prepper, it's not what you grow. You need to give them, okay, there's two options here. You need to give them another source. Marigolds in a flower bed somewhere else away from your garden will attract them somewhere else. Growing garlic will attract them someplace else. The other thing is, go by the men's barber shop. Get a bunch of men's hair. And the reason I say that is because men don't use chemical dyes. It's all natural oils in their hair. Take that hair and throw it all over your garden. And I mean all over your garden, all over your plants, your flowers, all of your harvest. Get it everywhere. As soon as those deer start getting that in their mouth, they're done. As soon as they smell the human contact, they're done. And they avoid the garden like the plague. With you providing them something else to eat and someplace else to rub, they're going to go there. As soon as they realize you're growing garlic in another spot in the yard, they're headed for that because it's a natural flea and tick deterrent. And they know it, and they'll go lay in it. They'll go roll in it. I've had them in my gardens right here in the city a bunch of times. No problem, because the garlic keeps coming back no matter what they do.
Depending upon where you live, I'm also say a shotgun works very well.
Oh, yeah, it's food, harvest.
Additional protein.
I wouldn't have a problem. Hey, look, lunch.
But then again, I'm the type of person, I'll eat a rat burger. I don't care. Meat is meat. That's all there is to it. And yes, if I had to, I would eat cockroaches. Fry them up in, butter, a little butter, some bacon grease. What they say, bacon makes everything better.
Now, look, guys, a lot of you are going to sit back and you're going to look at this and go, I can't do a garden because I can't get water to the garden. What you have to understand is Mother Nature has provided for that. When your soil is as deep as we're talking, 10, 15, 20 feet deep, that is all full of microbial life that is storing water for the plants. I don't water my yard anymore. I don't water my garden. I don't need to. Anywhere I go, anywhere I dig, anywhere I put a shovel down into the soil, it comes up black and it's wet. I can squeeze it and get water out of the soil. It's always there. The microbial life stores water in living topsoil, in soil. It can't store it in clay because it can't penetrate it. We have to get rid of the clay. We've got to stop that problem. The only way you're going to do that is to get life back down in there.
Let me throw out some science for you guys. The human body is 90% water. Okay. Microbes, same thing. Most what we consider living life forms, tissue, is 90% water. The other 10% are the other chemicals that make it up. Green, you had an evil laugh there, so I'm gonna let you.
Oh, Caitlin just said something funny. That's all.
Oh no, let me pull it up here.
Can't put 10 feet on her deck. God, I can take that in so many wrong ways, but we'll just let that one slide.
Kaylin, you brought a smile to the Green Wizard. Let's see. Hang bars of deodorant and soap to chase off deer. I don't want to chase off the deer. I don't want to chase deer off. My 410 will do that job just fine. Okay, I'm just saying. But then again, where I plan to move in Alaska, you know, there's not a whole lot of people. I think my closest neighbor is about 7 or 8 miles away from me. So, you know, they're not going to hear my 410 take down a deer. I just look at it added protein to the diet. And no, guys, to be honest, I will not shoot an animal outside of season. There's a reason why there's a season for hunting and there's a season for non-hunting. I do want the deer population to increase, the moose population. Now, when it comes to rabbits, squirrels, and things like that, that reproduce at a rate that's uncontrollable, yeah, I will take them out and we will have roasted squirrel, rabbit, you know, any varmints like that. So now this is a good question. This is a really good question. I like this. How long does it take to build back soil to health? 1 year, 10 years, 20 years? How long do you think it would take for somebody to take a depleted land, a land that's just been neglected by previous caretakers, to build that soil back up?
1 day.
Please expand on that.
Every shortcut in the book, when combined together at exactly the same time, put into a garden. When you go back to that garden in a week to put the plants in, the worms are back, the water is back, everything that are in my soil conditions are in the next door neighbor's soil conditions, and that garden bed was ignored for 3 solid years after he passed away. The recipe and the guide, the exact steps that I took, are in the guide in the end of the book. You can immediately make changes to your yard and your garden by following the guide. Everything you need to know is in there. All the mistakes, everything I've done wrong, and all of the things I've done right, and the end results when you apply it. All of this stuff has been tested and tested and tested and tested in many different ways. And every single time, Mother Nature prevails and proves to me I got it right and I'm following the right track. What's interesting is that once you follow the guide and you get these steps in your head and you start doing these things, you only have to do them once or twice in a couple of years. And then you don't have to do them anymore because your soil and your topsoil begin to grow, and all of the minerals and everything that your yard needs that has been sequestered becomes abundant once again, and you start growing like crazy. Now, yeah, you can always give it a helping hand. That's never going to hurt. You want the perfect yard that's weed free, but your neighbor has got the weeds galore? Follow the instructions and you can get rid of weeds every single year with the same product that turns into nitrogen in 6 weeks. Same thing with the garden. Apply the same principle to your garden. It will be weed free and it'll turn into nitrogen in 6 weeks. And all of a sudden you have a nitrogen boost going into your plants, and it's all natural. That's what the Green Wizard's Guide can do for you.
So I am posting. I'm showing that right now on the screen. His link to Amazon, so that you can purchase the book, or if you're cheap ass like me, if you have a Kindle subscription, you can get the download for free. But Dreams Acres asks, we're surrounded by massive amounts of deers, and I'm sick of them eating all our stuff. Well, I guess it's more of a comment, but I think we kind of covered that in a little.
Yeah, we were answering their original question.
Hair, human hair. What about, and this sounds disgusting, but let's face it, it is what it is. It's a natural byproduct, human urine.
I've heard that will work as a deterrent, like to the smaller foxes and that kind of stuff. But over time, that becomes an acidic base. You don't necessarily want that around your garden.
Well, I'm not saying, go piss on your garden every time you got to go pee. But mine is more sugary, so I'm diabetic, and we won't get into that too much. But
no, the whole point of the Green Wizard's Guide is to give you the shortcuts to Mother Nature's way, so that you can help Mother Nature once or twice, and then not have to do it again for years on end. And then you might go back and do it again. Here's
one thing that I do learn about deer. Deer don't really like humans. They will get accustomed to them. So if they're not accustomed to them, go get yourself a brick of black cats. When you see a deer, light some black cats, throw them out there, provide noise, something that's going to scare them off. They don't want that loud, sudden noise. That's why if you watch them in nature, they're always listening, because they know that they're somebody's dinner if they're not careful. So they're listening for these noises, and they're not going to come into an area that is loud. So that is one way of getting rid of deer if you want to get rid of them. Now, let's see.
How do I find it now?
What about using newspapers? The problem I have about newspapers is not the paper itself, it's the ink. That's my biggest issue with newspapers. But the Daily Prepper says that my dad always has put down newspapers around our garden plants.
Well, because it does a couple of different things. And one of them is a big principle that I stand behind, and that is never leave your soil uncovered. Always use, if at all possible, the 3-sister method and grow multiple plants next to each other. You do not, under any circumstance, want your soil showing to sunlight. You've got to cover it with something. So the old way of doing it was put down newspapers and or go out and get cardboard shredded up and put it around your plants. And then this worst one that I've seen is going out there and getting garden fabric and putting that down. Oh my God, does that cause problems? Because you're killing the microbial life. People just don't understand what they're doing to that microbial life and just how important that stuff is.
I think
so. Use the 3-sister method. Grow clover in your garden. Anything that you can potentially do to cover the soils. I love the wood chip method. I love using ground up sawdust and a mix of ground up leaves around all of my plants. A lot of people will say, well, we're doing this to keep the weeds down. You can be weed free without ever, ever, ever having to pull a weed, and never, ever having to face them, because you kill the weed seeds ahead of time. Yes, it's possible. Yes, it's in the book. All of this stuff is available, and it's Mother Nature's products. There's nothing in this book that is a chemical in any way, shape, or form, because it doesn't work. I've proven that. I grew every weed that was possible and mastered it.
I think a lot of people...
That's what I'm giving you in the guide. You got to understand, this is 15 years of me doing it right and doing it wrong. Mostly doing it wrong. And then I spent 5 years writing the book. Why wouldn't you want that knowledge? When
We
it's
as
all Mother
Americans,
Nature's way, and I've proven it works.
we as Americans have grown into a society where we want instant gratification. We get
You're going to
sick.
get it.
We get sick. We want to go to the doctor. We want to get a pill. It's done. We want to grow something. We expect it to grow like, monsters, the first time out.
You're going to get that from the guide. When you follow the guide, you're going to get those instantaneous results.
But we don't want to learn. We don't want to spend money, damn it. We want to spend as little as possible. And you guys,
but that's what I'm saying. Mother Nature has provided so much for us.
Look at that price on that book.
They wanted me to charge $25.
$13.95. Seriously?
They wanted me to charge $25 for this book.
You can go get yourself a 99-cent heart attack over at McDonald's because of inflation. It's about $13.95. Trust me, I eat plenty of them. It's about $13.95. 15, 20 bucks, less than $15, you can get this information. Would you rather have this information, or would you rather something that's going to sustain you long term, or $15 for a double Whopper with cheese, supersized fries, and a chocolate shake? You have your choice. You can choose long term or short term. And now, when I say short term, I do mean short term, because let's face it, fat like me, that 99-cent or that Whopper meal ain't going to last you but 15 minutes. So yeah, I'm more than happy to pimp out Ron's book there. Yes, nature provides animals with a higher sense of sight and smell. Well, actually, I'm sorry, a higher sense of smell and hearing than humans will ever have. I mean, look at the damn pig. Pigs can smell out truffles, for God's sakes. And they're buried under the ground. So you want to make it, we're going to go back to, larger prey animals such as deer and moose. If you don't want them around you, fine. You need to provide the environment that they don't want to be around, because they will remember that. They have good memories. That's why we hear about, in Alaska, you hear about bears raiding trash cans and dumpsters. They have a memory. They know that there's good food in those. Okay, so you got to make sure that they don't want to go there. And we have one last question here from Daily Prepper.
To answer your above question about the leaching fields, yes, Epsom salt will help. Weed control in the garden, keep the soil covered at any cost. Like, I grow my garlic, and I planted it last 2 months ago. It's got probably 3 inches of hay on top of it to help control that potential problem. Now, yeah, I know it inherently comes with seeds in it, and I'm not worried about that. I have a solution that's in the book that kills all weed seed on contact. All of it. Any weed seed. But it'll also kill garden seeds. So if you plant your garden from seed, you don't want to use this process until those plants have come up and started growing. Okay.
So Prepper asked,
somebody else was saying, Albany Mountain Homestead. You want information? Here's my YouTube channel. What I did was I designed my YouTube channel to go along with the book. There are empty pages in the book that you can write in information, both your own personal information and my information. And I reference the blank pages so that you can write in or add in the information as you go. Because that's one of the problems with a lot of the books, a lot of the textbooks. They're cram-packed full of information. A lot of it will put you to sleep. It's boring. And it's all technical jargon that you don't need. Explaining this, that, or the other, and they put it in all scientific terms. BS. Garbage. Throw it away. Burn it and use the ashes to deacidify your soils. Ashes are great for your garden. But my book is designed in such a way that you actually have places to keep notes and to write stuff down.
And keeping notes is so important in everything that you do in life, whether it's gardening, prepping, anything that you do, because our minds, they're not as good as we think they are. We forget a lot. And by keeping that note, you can trigger things in your mind so that you remember, hey, I did this, it didn't work. And now your mind's starting to think, what if I do it this way? Or if I do this and then do this and then do this? So keeping notes is the biggest thing. And that's one thing that I hate about textbooks. And I've read a lot of textbooks, especially, studying horticulture. You go through a lot of textbooks. None of them had a place for you to write notes.
I provided them. I made sure there's blank pages.
Now, Albany also states that she gets our point and do what she can as she affords it. She'll get the book eventually, but I'm getting by with what I've learned so far and getting better every year. Absolutely. That's the way to move forward. Learn from your mistakes that you make today so you don't make them tomorrow.
But if you read my book, you don't have to make mistakes. Because I already made them.
Also, by paying attention to people such as the Green Wizard here, Ron, he's made the mistakes. He's learned from those mistakes. I've learned from mistakes. I make mistakes to this day. But like Thomas Edison stated, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I learned how to not make a light bulb 1,000 times. So you got to look at, you got to change your perception. You're not making mistakes. You're learning. Second, it's not about money. Nature has no money out there. There's no Bitcoin. You don't see deer trading silver for radishes or, shit like that. Learn by watching nature itself. Go out there, connect with nature, learn from nature itself. That is your biggest teacher. And you'd be surprised at what you can do with very minimal money, if no money at all. And I know Ron's done it plenty of times.
The Daily Prepper, you asked a question earlier about beer and soda. No, beer and soda are not active ingredients enough to digest grass clippings or the thatch layer. What you are doing is you are increasing the composting ability by bringing in a certain form of microbial life that is ingesting and composting those grass clippings. You don't necessarily want to do that. I know what the gardeners say, and I know what the yard landscapers say. I work at a landscaping company. I'm one of their lead fertilizer guys. Thatch is a good thing. Thatch will help your yard thrive that much more. It also raises the crown, which I don't necessarily agree on. The crown should be short to promote more root growth. In the book, I have a recipe for beer that will green up your yard and make it as healthy as it can possibly be right before a party, right before you have 100 people running in the same path on your grass. And the very next morning, after that party's over, that grass will snap right back up and won't be hurt in any way, shape, or form from that party. You need 24 hours for this to soak in, but the recipe's in the book. And it brings that grass back as soft and as abundant as you can possibly believe. And green like you wouldn't believe. I'm up in Cleveland, Ohio. See, the thing is, all of this information comes from across the globe, comes from around the world. All of the studies, all of the research, all of the university studies, all of the right people have contributed to this book, whether they realize it or not. All of it is referenced in the book to give the correct copyright, because this is a copyrighted book, and I violated no copyrights. This book was a project. Let me tell you, I may be self-published, but I went through every step that has to be made with the right guidance, and got this thing done the right way. It's in the Smithsonian. It's registered. It's one of those books. We were talking earlier, and people were complaining about sandy soils. And, you kind of get to a point where you laugh at people, but you understand what people are talking about. What people aren't understanding and what they're not looking at is Saudi Arabia, for one, Egypt, for another, are growing huge gardens. And I mean plentiful gardens in the middle of the desert. And how are they doing that? In sand. They're using the microbial life. They're using a certain measurement of clay and sand to support that microbial life. I know you want to go that intense, but they're using a certain balance of clay and sand to grow those intense, huge acre after acre after acre of sustainable foods for their population. It's amazing to see. You're looking out there and you're looking at the camera view, and it's sand, food forest.
And that
nothing but food in your vision. And they're not dumping tons of water on it. They don't need to. The microbial life is storing the water.
No,
all of this is possible. All of this information that's in the guide is exactly the same information that they're using around the world. And it works everywhere under every condition. When the microbial life is thriving, everything else falls in place. Mother Nature built it this way, and she's been here for billions of years.
I want to hit what Daily Prepper, what I have on the screen there, the one last question he had. Mixing a beer with 2 liter soda and sprayed on your yard will digest grass clippings. That may have been true at one point. However, have you looked at the ingredients on your beer? I have a beer right here. There, I'm not showing the label. I'm not going to promote it, but this is a beer. I drink soda all the time. However, the chemicals in the beer and the soda are not what they once were. So at one point, yes, it may have been true, because any life form wants sugar. That's the building block of life. When we consume food, we're consuming it to break it down into its sugars. That's how we process it. It's no different than plants. Plants will break down food into sugar. They convert the sugar into the food that they need, as well as additional energy. However, the chemicals and the shit that's in what we're drinking now is not what nature had intended. And that's not going to be processed well by those plants. So unless you're making your own soda and you're making your own beer, I would not do that 2 liter of soda and the beer at all.
Just make sure both are flat before you do it.
I
Seriously.
agree. I know what you're saying. Also, the problem with alcohol, there's only one plant form that I know of that likes alcohol and thrives on it. And it's not exactly the type of thing that you want in your garden, and that's vinegar mother, acetobacter or whatever. I have had a few beers, so but you know what I'm talking about. Vinegar and vinegar mother love alcohol. That's what they consume to turn into vinegar. You don't want that. That's going to turn your garden into more acidic environment, and a more acidic environment is not good for other plants.
Okay, Albany. Look over my channel. Yeah, and the link that I put up goes directly to a barbecue I just did. I'll be taking that down. That's just to keep my friends and what have you entertained. They love me barbecuing, and I've got 4 different grills and 4 different ways of cooking. Just out in the yard by itself. But also on my channel, one of the videos that's there, it's almost like a commercial that we tried putting together. And I was trying to learn Windows editing, and I'm still absolutely terrible at it. I'm still, because I spend more time in the soil than I do anywhere else. I don't have time to sit at the computer anymore. When I'm sitting at the computer, I'm usually writing. Tonight is a really odd thing for me. Like Gil said, it's hard to catch me, to get me into the chats to do this, because I'm usually too busy. I'm usually not even answering emails and not around. But in the commercial, I've got a bunch of other YouTubers that have used my system, and they talk about it. One of them is Jerry's Wood Shop and Outdoors. And he complained the 2 weeks after his wife applied the system to their yard because he was burning up his lawnmower. Plants, he's got a fruit tree. I believe it's an apple tree growing in his front yard, been there 10 years or something like that. Never produced anything. No fruits, nothing. They applied this system and did nothing else, and it started producing again. Gangbusters. The system works. You just check out my channel and you'll find it. It's there. There was a second part to your you were asking about fruit trees and stuff. You know, I'm not necessarily sold on the idea that you can only grow certain trees in certain hemispheres and in certain grow regions.
You know,
there's a gentleman in Canada that is growing bananas and not having a single problem. He's got a greenhouse and he's this and he's that and he's what have you, but same difference. He's still dealing with soil conditions that are very specific to Canada. And he's
not only that,
gangbusters.
Ron, Gil we touched on this on one of Gil's lives. There's a guy in Nebraska of all states, and you gotta give it up to Nebraska farmers. I'm from Nebraska. I love my home state. But he's growing things that you would expect to be grown in tropics, oranges. He's growing them on the farm year round. What is he doing different? He's paying attention to what the plant needs, what nature is telling him. And he's making the changes ever so slightly so that those plants are getting what nature intended them to get. Now, when you say that I want to bring up your, I see your comment. I'm going to mark that for later. There we go. But you also said that you understand what he's preaching and that you've been burned many times. And very much so. Anytime you read a book that has letters behind the author's name, PhD, MS, all those little letters. Yes, I could put on my resume that I'm a master's of science. I have a bachelor's in law, blah, 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 blah. I could say all this shit. But here's what it comes down to. I prefer listening to the advice of Joe Blow, somebody that's actually doing it, rather than somebody that's researched it. And that's what you're getting when you get these books by these PhDs and any letter combination behind their name. That's what you're getting. You're getting research information. So you need to take that research information, you need to digest it a little bit, and you need to apply it to common knowledge, common science. Look at nature. Nature has absolutely no letters behind its name, and it's the best damn teacher for anything that's organic. Whew. Sorry, I had to go off on that one.
The thing I would say is, look, all I'm preaching, all I'm talking about is the difference between a store-bought tomato and a homegrown garden tomato. The flavor profile is that dramatic and that difference that everybody out there who has had a garden fresh tomato instantly knows it's a garden fresh tomato versus what they're getting at the grocery store. All my system does is give you the shortcuts to Mother Nature's way and takes it that much further. I'm not saying to retrain your mind and, go out there with a magic Indian flute and get this going and get this going. And, you have to buy my magical flute or it's not going to work. And, oh my goodness, oh my God. No, that's not what I'm saying.
And if you're going to buy that, I'm just going to say, I got some swampland out here in Arizona. I'm more than willing to sell to you.
Right. All I'm saying is I've made the mistakes. I admittedly put them in the book. I tell you every single one I've made, and I tell you how my neighbors busted my chops over this stuff. Oh, and and I did it to them too. It was horrendous, stuff you wouldn't repeat in front of a child. But then when I got it right, all of a sudden I earned the name Green Wizard, because no matter what I put in my soil, it explodes. My one neighbor before he died said, you can't turn your back on his pumpkins, because you'll go in for lunch and you'll come back an hour later and they've grown a foot. I don't know what he's done. I don't know what kind of magical wand he's got, but whatever he's doing it right. So I wrote the book and I wrote down everything that I'm doing. I've got nothing to hide. The information's there. It's available anywhere if you actually just watch Mother Nature.
Yeah.
I just did it. I wrote it down and I put it in a book.
What creative redundancy says, similar to book smarts compared to street smarts. It is just really paying attention to things that are going on around you, your environment, your Mother Nature. Mother Nature wants complete balance. That is Mother Nature. She wants complete balance. So if you see something growing like wildfire, like tomatoes, just plump and juicy and delicious in one area, and you're not seeing it in the other area, you need to look and say, hey, what is different in that area? And start breaking things down. And then looking at the soil. The soil is going to tell you a lot. I do recommend getting your soil tested so that you know where you're starting. At least you have a base to start with. You got to look at things and quit expecting automatic results. Like, Miracle Grow says, oh, you buy this, you feed this to your plants, and it's just going to take off like wildfire. Well, yeah, maybe not. there's so many other contributing factors that you have to look into. Don't just rely on what you're being told. A smart man once said, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. And he said that for a reason. Because there's a lot of people that are going to feed you bullshit. And even with your eyes, there's going to be a lot of bullshit. You need to take in everything, filter out the bullshit, and then make a informed decision. Okay, Dreammakers, before we get to your question, I'm going to move over to Ron and ask him how much longer he wants to go, because I can go all night. I know
I'm
he's
good to
got.
go. I just go get more coffee. I'm good to go.
Well, you better put on a double strength, because we're getting some good questions. Dreams Acres asking, we've been here 12 years. Well, first of all, I don't know where here is, but we have a huge, well-established Concord grapevines. Every year, awesome yield. The last year, only half the grapes in the bunches ripened. Same with my neighbor's grapes.
Now I'd be looking at chemical sprays that somebody else is using. Something has happened that hit both of you. That's not normal in any way, shape, or form.
Something's built up in that soil and is starting to take effect.
Albany, that's my money, you know. That's white gold to me.
Right?
As much as I don't like the cold, and I'd rather be, you know, somewhere 80 degrees all the time, that's white gold to me. I've been plowing most of my life.
Living in the Midwest, if you had a truck and a plow, you could write your own paycheck. I mean, under certain weather conditions, certain amount of snowfalls, those companies are hiring them snow plows out right away.
Well, I ran into one state, they were paying plow drivers $250 an hour to plow. They were in that much trouble.
Yeah. And the thing is, people don't understand, snow plowing is a great way to make some extra cash on the side. I've known friends when I lived in Nebraska, in Omaha, that would rent themselves out to these companies that if X amount of snow fell, they would be out there plowing their parking lot so that they could open in the morning. I think we have some issues going on with Ron and his internet.
No, PGR. Somebody was asking about slowing down plant growth, and there is a PGR available, or a plant growth inhibitor, that will slow down the green growth of your plants.
When it comes to plant growth, now, I'm a big believer in purchasing from the dollar store, Dollar Tree, as cheap as possible, a lot of things, even produce. However, I want to tell you guys, if you buy a watermelon from a dollar store or Dollar General or Family Dollar or whatever, and you cut into that, and you see that inside it's already split, and you'll notice the split because it looks like a damn Grand Canyon in the watermelon. Okay, take that thing back. That thing has been treated so much that you don't want to eat it. It's been treated with so much growth hormone. It's ridiculous. Even though it says it's natural, it's not natural for a watermelon to have a big, wide gap in it on the inside. Okay? I don't like growth hormones. I don't like growth inhibitors. I do use them. Let me rephrase that. I use rooting compounds on certain plants where I want to take a clipping from and grow from that clipping. Then I will use a growth hormone to develop the root system. But it's not something that I'm going to utilize right away. But be very careful. Please be very careful. Those are not plants that you want to ingest.
Well, see, that's Dream Acres. That's kind of one of the problems, you know, that we have to address in this country. And this goes off in a completely different tangent, but you know, the differences that I was talking about in tomatoes, that is in all the foods at the grocery store, at the big chain box stores. All of this junk food and stuff that we're ingesting is causing a lot of our physical problems, from joint conditions, spinal conditions, hearing conditions, eyes, da 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 da. We're not getting the minerals that our bodies need. We're not getting it out of the foods like we're supposed to. When you go with the Green Wizard's Guide and you follow through and you start using the minerals and getting that into your food again, and you start consuming the minerals that your body actually needs, your food cravings go away. You're not always hungry. You will eat until the point you're full and still have food on your plate, believe it or not. When you start ingesting the right stuff in the right quantities, whether it be from tomatoes, lettuce, celery, carrots, corn on the cob, the list goes on and on and on of abundance, and you eat everything in moderation, you're going to find yourself getting naturally healthier and healthier, and fewer things are going to bother you. A lot more you're going to find yourself, your body is repairing itself, and a lot of aches and pains from many, many years all of a sudden aren't aches and pains anymore. They're twinges, they're reminders, and it gets better and better. You start losing weight, you start sleeping better. You don't want this junk food around anymore. You stop spending the money. That's part of what I'm trying, what the Green Wizard's Guide preaches, is saving money. Mother Nature's way is not only going to give you a more oxygen-rich atmosphere in your yard and your property, it's going to give you a better garden. In turn, you're going to start eating better. You're going to start eating less. You're going to have fewer and fewer cravings. You're going to instantaneously start losing weight, getting healthier. The problems are going to start repairing itself like the human body is meant to. And God forbid you add another 20 years onto your life because you were eating your own garden fresh foods. But when you're not paying for this $1.99 bag of potato chips and this bag of popcorn and this bag of junk food and this salsa and this and this and this, and all of a sudden you're only getting the necessities because you're growing it at home, you're on a tremendous savings plan that you didn't even ask for. And because your body starts naturally adjusting to what your intake.
Let me jump in and just add to that. And a lot of you guys know that I'm type 2 diabetic. I am uncontrolled type 2 diabetic right now. Okay. I've been type 2 diabetic for many years.
Overdose on Ceylon cinnamon, please.
I have, the first time I was diagnosed and they tried to put me on medication, I changed my diet completely. I went to more greens, natural greens, not store-bought. I went to natural foods that I could pick, and I ate a lot more than what I eat now. I conquered type 2 diabetes, and I got lazy. I have type 2 diabetes now. It's uncontrolled. I know how to control it, And that's by changing my diet to more natural foods that I'm harvesting. And that's one of the reasons why I'm getting back into, well, kind of gardening, but more on an apartment level.
Yes, Cylon, like Battlestar Galactica. Yes, Cylon cinnamon.
There's a lot of different natural remedies that I can take and that I can ingest that will help me.
Right, but Cylon cinnamon is a very specific bark that grows only in the Asian Ocean islands. There's something specific about that soil that this particular type of cinnamon, this particular type of bark, repairs the pancreas. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why, but diabetics that overdose on Cylon cinnamon fix the pancreas and get it back on track and solve their own problem.
Now, I want to get back.
Mother Nature provides.
I want to get back to a question asked over an hour ago, and I don't know if you're still in here, but somebody asked me why it is that I'm choosing to move to Arizona, or from Arizona to Alaska. First and foremost is the challenge. I have to have a challenge in my life. Moving to untamed wilderness in Alaska is the first challenge. The second challenge is because I want to live. I want to live the way Mother Nature intended me to live. I want to grow my food. I want to be self-sufficient. I know that I have to make changes in my life. And how do I make those changes? Sitting here in Arizona, working a state job for my home? No, that's not going to do it for me. It might do it for somebody, but it's not for me. I need to get back out there and I need to connect with the land. I need to be able to raise my food. That's why I raise quail in my dining room, because I need that interaction with Mother Nature. The more that I leave it behind, the sicker I get. Like right now, I'm type 2 diabetic. You know, in a couple more years, it may be worse. I may develop pancreatitis or some other weird disease. I know what my body needs. You know what your body needs. The only thing that Ron is here to do is to direct you on how to get to that point. All I'm doing is I'm just going to document my life so that somebody later that says, hey, I'm done with, let me get my fingers in here, civilized society. I want, and they want to move out. They don't know how. That's what I'm about. Okay, so when somebody like Ron is dropping knowledge, I'm going to pay attention. And I'm hoping that you guys pay attention, because you guys already know, those that have been here any length of time know that I usually joke around by now. I'm usually cracking jokes. I'm not cracking jokes because this is serious shit. You need to learn this, especially if shit hits the fan. You need to know how to survive and how to feed yourself, because the only person, when it comes down to it, the only person you're going to be able to count on is you. Whew. Damn, that was a lot. I get on tangents sometimes. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Why not raw land in the South? Because the land in the lower 48 is expensively expensive. I'm going to tell you what I paid for 10 acres, and I'm making it on payment plans, is $16,000. That's 10 acres in Alaska. 10 acres in the lower 48, yeah, I'm looking at 40, 50,000 minimum. So the lower 48 just wasn't an option for me. Dragon Slayer, what part of Alaska? I've got good prepper group up north in Fairbanks. It's actually about a 4-hour drive from Fairbanks. It's 4 hours west and about the same amount of time east of Manly Hot Springs. So right between Fairbanks and Manly Hot Springs. Exactly, Gil. I mean, shit's going to hit the fan eventually, just a matter of time. Yes, I'm going to face a lot of hard obstacles, Dreammakers. If you watched my video that I did about the 5 W's about me, I do plan on doing it in stages. I plan on going from an apartment that I'm in now to being a nomadic lifestyle, living in a camper trailer for about a year while
towards the beneficial aspects of, let's say, garlic.
So right between Fairbanks and Manly Hot Springs. Exactly, Gil. I mean, shit's going to hit the fan eventually, just a matter of time. Yes, I'm going to face a lot of hard obstacles, Dreammakers. If you watched my video that I did about the 5 W's about me, I do plan on doing it in stages. I plan on going from an apartment that I'm in now to being a nomadic lifestyle, living in a camper trailer for about a year while I gain the additional funds that I'm going to need, as well as the additional equipment that I'm going to haul with me. And then from there, I'm going straight to Alaska. So yes, many, many obstacles. And that's what I want to document for everybody. Okay, so
Looks like they're running out of questions.
Now, enough with me, guys. This is not about me. Let me bring him back. I'm going to make him full screen. This is about Ron. This is why I'm doing this live. This is the man right here. I want you to pick his brain. Look at that big brain pan of his. Okay? There's much. He said he's good to go as long as he's got coffee. I told him already to make a double batch. So this is your chance to ask him questions. Yes, he's going to pimp his book. I will pimp his book for him. This is something you guys need in that prepper library. You want to learn. You're thirsty for the knowledge. He's willing to give it to you. Look at that. Kindle is offering it for free. That's free. $0, people. So ask him the questions.
Oh, it doesn't have to be your last question.
Exactly. Many more to come, hopefully. So while I'm waiting for Albany to hit up her question here, I'm going to ask you, what are the main plants? If you were to choose 5 plants, what would be the main 5 plants that you would suggest people to grow?
Wow. See, it's different for every person.
I know I'm trying to generalize, but sometimes we have to do that.
Well, the reason I say it's different for every person is because as their body changes and they start eating real foods, they're going to find that their body asks them for certain types of foods. It's going to ask them, like one day it's going to be, I just want salads. And you're going to want the fixings for salads. the next day it may be, you know, it wants potatoes, or it wants tomatoes or melon. To say a specific 5 plants, I would be looking more so towards the beneficial aspects of, let's say, garlic. Garlic has a bunch of natural vitamins in it that it takes in from the soils, that increase your ability to fight off colds. It has another agent in it that has an ability to increase your metabolism, which is going to burn off excess body fat. It has an energy builder. It also has something in it that will help you sleep. It's not melatonin, don't misunderstand, but that's all just available in the garlic plant. And we're talking from the onion all the way up through the hardest garlics you could possibly get your hands on. It'll almost burn you. The one warning that I will give anybody is, if you're going to follow this method, please, please, please be careful with any of the capsaicin plants. I grew yellow peppers a couple of years ago on the system, and I brushed the back of my hand against the plant, not even the pepper itself, just the plant, and it burnt my skin. The capsaicin was so strong in that plant. And I challenged some people for the hot peppers. I challenged some people that claim to be pepperheads to try a couple of my zombies. And yeah, they got sick. They were throwing up. It was too much for them. So if you're going to grow peppers, be very, very careful. This system is not meant for pepper challenges and that kind of stuff. It is very harsh. But if we're going to be, narrowing down certain plants, I would be looking more so towards the beneficial plants, such as your carrots, your lettuces, your celeries. All these plants are more beneficial to the human body versus, say, aerative, and I say that with a joke in mind, beans and peas. Because, yeah, it's going to clean your body out in a couple of different ways through your colon that may not be beneficial to the pets in the house. We'll just go there. So, yeah, to say that there's a very specific one or another plant that I would go after, I would be looking more so towards the beneficial plants, the more health-conscious plants versus just the consumables. Yeah, you can grow a whole lot of different types of lettuces throughout your garden, and some of them are going to be higher iron based, some of them are going to be higher calcium based. It just depends on what your body's needs are. And a lot of that I'm going to go into in the next book. I haven't necessarily touched on a lot of that stuff on my channel because I wanted to hold it back for the next book.
So Albany asks, and I got a couple questions, but I'm going to ask Albany's question here real quick. And this goes back to tomatoes that she had asked. Why don't you trellis your tomatoes?
Okay. It's not that I don't necessarily don't want to trellis. It's that if I start building trellises 20 feet tall to hold my tomatoes, I'm sticking them up in the wind. That's not necessarily Mother Nature's way. And I started consciously thinking about, if I've got these things and I'm letting them grow Mother Nature's way, they kind of want to drape down a wall, or they kind of want to run along a chain link fence like grapes do and what have you. They actually kind of reach out and do that kind of stuff naturally. You physically have to train a tomato to go up a trellis. It's not a water thing. It's more so paying attention to what Mother Nature wants. And when I allowed it to do that, I got more tomato production out of it. So I kept it lower to the ground and got some incredible growth and some incredible results just letting it just be above the ground. I just didn't want the fruit necessarily to be on the ground, but I let the vine do its own thing. Just like when you let pumpkins grow, you let the vines do their own thing. You don't necessarily hang them from a tree or hang them from trellis. That's the reason I went that way. I wanted to see what Mother Nature was going to give me when I did it her way.
Right. I definitely understand that. And that's definitely something that I'm going to be putting in practice with the hydroponics. I want to give a shout out to, sorry, that was the wrong comment. So I want to give a shout out to McBean Scottish Fitness. He's reached over 3,500 subs.
Awesome.
Live stream
Congratulations.
next, celebrating. All are invited. McBean, I want to congratulate you personally. I think that's awesome. I can't wait until I hit the one. Honestly, I can't wait until I hit 500, but 1,000 would be just astronomical for me. I'm looking forward to that so that I can pay back to the community a lot more than what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I'll get there one day.
The one thing that you stated was lettuces. Now, there's people that are saying lettuce has no real nutritional value.
It's more of a water-based plant. There's a lot more water in lettuces. But like I said, different lettuces have different benefits.
See, I'm a fat man, and I'm the first one to admit it, guys. I'm fat, okay? I'm fat and I'm proud. I'm in a nice, perfect, natural shape, which is round. Okay. But my body,
I'll answer that, Dragon Slayer.
My body, I crave iceberg lettuce. And what I add a little bit of Parmesan cheese for the fat, a little bit of ranch, not a whole lot, but that's a salad to me. And I will demolish a head of lettuce in a day easy. I mean, that's one meal for me. I love lettuce. My body, that's something that it's always craving.
Yes, Alvin.
And what are your thoughts? You're starting to state something. What are your thoughts on the lettuces? You were talking about the body craving, and this is what my body craves.
Right, and you need to change the lettuce and try different types of lettuce, because what you're going to find is that some of them are more fulfilling to you than others.
That's a good point. I really never thought about it. It's just that, you know, a head of iceberg lettuce is so cheap. I mean,
I understand.
I can always find it for 99 cents, no matter what the economy's like.
Dragon Slayer, the book is more comedy than you might think. It's like us sitting here having a conversation. I wrote the book in such a way that it would be you and I sitting down over a cup of coffee first thing in the morning watching the sunrise and giving you as much information as I could possibly give you in the time it would take for us to share a pot of coffee and get on about our day. And I tried to write the book that way so that it's a conversation between you and I. Now, as far as different methods to grow, yes, believe it or not, a cardboard box can be used as a raised bed. Cardboard is a biodegradable. It'll break down. It's wood. It's actually beneficial. You can use that to your advantage. A lot of people use cardboard in making their beds and making their gardens. I don't necessarily agree in their method to kill the weeds and then put compost and soils and manures on top of it and grow in them. But yes, you can take a cardboard box, and to strengthen it, I would just get some chicken wire and fold it around the box to contain the box to give it a little bit more rigidity, and then I would hold the dirt in. I put my few plants in, and then of all things, then I would go in there with leaves, and I would crush the leaves up so that they became a more powdered. Don't get crazy. You don't have to grind them up and stick them in a blender or anything, and just cover the soil around the plant, and you will get incredible results. And as those leaves break down, add more. Just keep an eye on your moisture level. You don't want it too damp. You don't want it dry. The plant will tell you, depending on the plant. Tomatoes is one of those really, really great plants. If you want to monitor your garden, whether you're using raised hill beds, whether you're using planter boxes or what have you, tomatoes, whether it's a cherry tomato or a gigantic long vine tomato like I like to grow, it is one of the first plants to tell you there's too much water, there's not enough water. You don't need to go out and grab the soil and uncover it to find out what's going on with the soil. Watch the tomato plant. What those leaves are doing on a daily basis will tell you on in your garden and what is needed.
See, one thing I've learned, and I've actually researched it, and there's many studies out there. Listen to your body. Your body, you as a person could be stuck in a grocery store, okay? You locked in, nobody else around. Your body is going to tell you what food that you need to eat, whether it's peanuts, almonds, lettuce, like my personal favorite, next to Brussels sprouts, which is odd because I was one of those kids that would love to eat Brussels sprouts, and most kids don't. But I love, and now I'm learning. See, I
Yes,
grew up with an allergy to tomatoes. It wasn't the tomato itself; it was the high acidity level of the tomato.
Coffee empty.
So I
Be right
could eat it as a processed tomato in pizza sauce, spaghetti sauce. If it was processed, it was fine for me. But as a whole tomato, I could not eat it. So that's been one of the biggest drawbacks for me as to eating tomatoes. And yes, I'm waiting for Wizard to go get his coffee and come back and join us. But tomatoes have not been one of my staple foods. Potatoes, unfortunately, because I'm diabetic, they have been well, it's unfortunate that I'm diabetic because potatoes have been a very staple product in my life. Potatoes, if you don't know, the starch in potatoes breaks down really easily into sugars, and your body will process the sugar, and then it gets too much sugar. See, so I'm not the only crazy person out there that loved Brussels sprouts. I love cabbage too, and Brussels sprouts taste like cabbage to me. So I really love them. Not so much anymore. I've grown out of it, but as a child, yeah, I would say if it was in the nightshade family, that the high acidic level of the plant itself caused me issues. I did break out many times. And Albany, yes, iceberg lettuce is more water than nutrients. Definitely something that my body is always seeking. Being type 2 diabetic, I'm drinking a lot of fluids. I'm drinking the wrong fluids. Like right now, I'm drinking my adult beverage. I'm not going to show the name of it, but it is an adult beverage. I do love to drink them from time to time. Let's see. Just going through some of the comments because I know I've missed a lot of comments, people, and I do apologize. Every comment is very important to me.
We're not doing too bad. We're pretty close.
Oh, there he is. We'll bring him back up here.
Yes, Dragon Slayer. Oak leaves are fine. Every color of leaves is that many more minerals. So the more colors you got, the better off you are in everybody's garden.
Here's the thing people don't realize. Some of your common weeds today are more nutritious than the vegetables that you're eating today.
Yes.
Dandelions are one. Let me talk about just some of the things made from dandelions. There's well, first of all, we're not even going to mention the medicinal issues of dandelions because dandelions do have medicinal issues, medicinal qualities. But you can make salads from the dandelion leaves. The petals themselves are edible. You can make dandelion wine, which if you've never had dandelion wine, it is a very, delicate wine. It is very beautiful when it's done right. If I'm not mistaken, dandelion roots are actually edible as well.
Yep, high calcium.
So there's so much in just that one. I just mentioned one weed. There's how many weeds that, or how many plants that we consider weeds?
See, what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to weeds, weeds wait for very certain conditions before they'll germinate. The soil has to become negligent in something before they will pop up. And I noted this in the book. There's a weed, and I wrote down, I think I wrote down exactly which one it was. It was found in Scotland on a golf course of all places where these people are really on top of everything that's going on. And this weed popped up. Nobody knew what to do with it. Nobody had seen it before. Everybody that was brought in said, that's an extinct plant. What the hell is it doing here? Well, it just so happens that this weed seed had been in the ground for over 200 years. The soil conditions finally got right, and the weed came up. So when you're seeing a lot of weeds, it's the soil conditions. You start changing the soil conditions, and weeds naturally go away.
And I want to hit on that point. You said 200 years. People, seeds, they're nature's amazing time capsule. Seeds can last almost indefinitely. I mean, you just heard it. 200 years before the dandelion started sprouting, because they were in the ground. They're just waiting for that perfect condition. So what you grow and what you save in seeds, here's the thing. I'm going to get back on real quick and I'm going to jump off. But the USDA does not set any type of expiration date on any food in America. End of discussion. The only exception is baby food. And that's because it's more processed than it is natural. So if the USDA is not putting expiration dates on your food, nobody's putting expiration dates on your seeds. So you can keep those seeds. And I recommend that you do keep seeds in a small vault. One thing that, well, Dragon Slayer, yeah, cabbage and Brussels sprouts, smother. Here's the problem I have. I love to smother things in natural butter, not vegetable spread. Don't get me wrong. I don't like vegetable spread, but natural butter. It's that natural fat, I think. But Baker Creek, there's lots of places that sell dandelions. Another weed, I guess. I think it's a weed. It's considered a weed, but many people keep it as a flower. Chicory. Chicory is a beautiful substitute for caffeine-free coffee. They used it in the South during the Civil War. A lot of us are, kind of immune to the effects of caffeine. It's just that taste that gets to us. Chicory is one of those things that, I plan to switch to soon. A weed is a weed by location.
Right. Absolutely. It depends on who's looking at it as to what it is. Weed, by definition, is something unwanted. That's it.
I just can't get over it. Root vegetables. I love root vegetables. Carrots, radishes, onion. I'm probably one of the few people that can take an onion, strip out the outside paper, and eat it just like an apple. I love the taste of it. And the nutritional value in it. believe it or not, back in the 17 and 1800s, there's recipes for baked onion. And I wish, who was it? I think it was Jan Penland. Now, I'm sure a lot of you've seen Jan. Jan is a very big moderator in a lot of prepper channels. She even agrees with me. Baked onion. And all it is an onion put in an oven for, a certain temperature for a certain amount of time. And then a little bit of butter added to it. That's it. And that's a meal. That was the meal back in 1700s. We need to get back into the way we were and not the way we are. And I think Ron will agree that we ate more vegetables in the past.
Actually, we ate fewer.
Really?
We ate fewer.
Really? Expand, please.
Well, since we're not getting any more questions, I'll go on this one tangent and step aside or step out for the evening. Look, the USDA, whatever, whenever, all of these alphabeticalized whatever groups, they follow some very odd standards that none of us seem to understand. And one of the things that they did way back when, I want to say, I think it was back in the 50s, it might have even been the 40s, they came out with a guide of how much spinach is in a serving. And then they came out with the USDA standards of serving size. Well, if you look at the standard of serving size, one of the things that they had in there was spinach. A cup of spinach gave the human body enough for a week. And they broke down a bunch of different foods this way. Well, they never updated that standard because something else happened and they weren't allowed. By today's value, it would take 8 cups of spinach to reach the nutritional value of iron because it's not being released in the soils anymore. It's not available. Something has happened. Something has taken place. I look at the clay. I look at all the flooding conditions we have all over this country that we've never had before. It's too much clay. Well, something's causing too much clay. Well, if you want to fix that, read the Green Wizard's Guide. If you want to get back to that 1 cup of spinach, just one, in your diet on a weekly basis, so that the sustainability of a 20 by 40 garden can feed the entire family, you need to follow the Green Wizard's Guide and get the food nutritional values back that was once available out of our gardens and in grocery stores of all places. It's not there anymore. The amount of food that you would need to intake today to reach those nutritional values is off the charts how much you would have to eat. You'd have to sit down to a trough to eat enough to reach those nutritional values of today's food. The difference that you're going to get following the Green Wizard's Guide, scratch that. Following Mother Nature's examples and getting back to nature and getting it right is far less, far less than what it would take in the grocery store today. Get the good foods back in your system. Get your body back to being healthy naturally. Everything is available. Everything can be done. Everything is sustainable. Just because they're misleading us, not giving us the correct information, or just not up to date with what's truly going on, that's not necessarily their fault. It is, on the other hand, your fault for not taking care of you. The only one that can take care of you is you. You want the better foods? Go get them. Grow them in your own garden. If you don't want to follow a Green Wizard's Guide, that's fine. That's great. Follow Mother Nature. Start doing things in what you observe from nature. I'm just giving you the shortcuts. I've observed all of this for many, many years, and I've started using these systems. And in some cases, people that helped me with the book said, look, you're stealing from your neighbors. We can't support this. No, I'm not. I am helping my neighbors clean up their yards, and I am taking their refuse away, and I am using it in my own yard. That's not theft. They're not growing a garden. I am. And I utilize every bit of everything I can get my hands on so that I don't have to spend the money to get it. You can get better foods right out of your own yard, right out of your garden, right out of your containers, right off of your porch, right off your balcony, right out of your living room of all places, by just following Mother Nature. She's given us all sorts of ways to do it. You just need to know where to look. I gave you the shortcuts. That's what this book is all about. I've been out here for 3 years talking about it. My channel goes into it, and we put my channel address back up in a second. But look, guys, I'm just here to help. With everything that's going on in our country and everything that's going on around the world with people's health, do you think we're actually eating correctly? Would you like to find a better way? Do you think it's possible that just maybe 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day to harvest vegetables out of your own garden might make a difference? And you may want to take a look at the Green Wizard's Guide and see if I didn't include some more information that I'm not talking about here, because I guarantee you I am. Guarantee.
Guys, I want to say, we already have one person state, I believe it was Dragon Slayer. You're buying the book. You're getting it tonight. I congratulate you on that. I will be checking out the Kindle version, and I may be looking for a printed copy soon.
Well, Kindle's great, but what's going to happen when the grid goes down? What's going to happen when you can't turn the Kindle on because you forgot to charge the battery?
Well, not only that, I'm gonna start with Kindle, but I'm going to move to the full version, the printed version, because moving to Alaska, that's something that I'm going to want to have probably in my library.
I was going to add that, too, because once you've read the guide a couple of times and you have this knowledge, okay, you don't necessarily need the knowledge anymore, but you might need toilet paper.
Well, not only toilet paper, but maybe some fire starter. But for a lonely night, in the Alaskan outback, a good read is always a good read. But guys, I want to say thank you first and foremost to Green Wizard. This was a very impromptu live. I've learned so much from this man in now 3 hours, an hour over at Gills and 2 hours here. And I'm thirsty for more. So I'm definitely going to be purchasing that book. I'm going to read it, because I hope to have Ron up here many, many, many times to discuss many different aspects, from just gardening to horticulture, or to hydroponics. I look at people's walls and I sit there and I think, such wasted space. Even having a hanging spider plant, which purifies the air, is much better than having nothing at all. So there's so many different aspects, and Ron is going to be a great value to us in a prepping community, a community that wants to stop relying on other people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I support my local rancher. I support my local farmer. Very much so. More so than I will support any grocery store chain. Okay. I want things at the peak of ripeness, where when it's meant to be eaten, not when the producers have injected and sprayed the fruits and vegetables with chemicals to make them look appetizing. So I do want to give a great thank you for Ron for taking the time out and showing up on this live, especially on such short notice.
Look,
I mean, literally,
I appreciate you having me up. We should do this again.
It was what, 3 minutes?
Better arrangements and get some more people in here. More of your followers can have notice that you're going to have me on, and we can set something up for another time.
Absolutely. I mean, this was like 3 minutes, guys. We ended Gil's live, and we talked for like 3 minutes. I sent them the link. I set it up, and here we are. So it's incredible that he took the time out, and he's got lots to plow, guys. It's snowing where he is. It's cold. So please give him some much due love. Check out his page. Ron, go ahead and please throw that down there one more time for me so that I can put it up here on the big screen, your YouTube channel. I'm going to go ahead and throw up his book, which is on Amazon. It's The Green Wizard's Guide, Spells to Turn Your Green, Add More Nutrients to Your Garden Veggies, and Save Money for Your Summer Vacation. Hey, who doesn't want to save money for summer vacation, right? I want to go to Hawaii at least once in my lifetime, just because I want to go.
Oh, I'd go and never come back.
Well, it is what it is. I prefer Hawaii. But there you have his YouTube channel. You have his book up there on screen showing The Green Wizard's Guide. Please order it, download it on Kindle, give it a read. Even if you order it on Kindle, which is zero, $13.95 is not bad to have a hard copy for when the shit hits the fan and you really need the information. And with that, if Ron has anything left to say, I'm gonna give it up to him.
Hey, I appreciate you all coming in, hanging out with us tonight. I'm available. Yeah, I snowplow and what have you, but if you need me on one of your channels and you just want to have an open discussion one night, I'll do the best that I can to get there and support your channel and do what we can to help get this information out and to answer any of your questions. On that, I'm going to step aside and we'll say goodnight to everybody. Fatman, I thank you for having me on. You have yourself a great evening.
Ron, I appreciate you being here. I really do. I'm going to tell everybody right now, if you want to see more of Ron, please let me know in the comments. Those that are live, following the live, those that are going to watch this on replay, hey, let me know if you want me to bring Ron back up here. I'm more than happy to have him. He is a welcome guest.